start with a call to order. And
Sarah Hoyer.
Eric, you want to go next?
You got to unmute.
Sorry. Yep. Eric Teacher.
Okay.
Jason Schultz.
Renee Hansen.
Erica Price.
Rosa Cavazos.
Rocky Buznitz.
Lauren Tice Miller.
Marty Stussman.
Stacy Bell.
Kristen O'Brien.
Stacy Giebler.
Matt Hirsch.
Rebecca Hummer.
Ed West.
Tiffany Kinch.
Blair, did we get you?
Nope.
Blair Anderson.
Okay.
And our guest.
Buck Reuter.
All right. I'm moving on to approval of the agenda and minutes.
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion by Jason. Do I have a second?
I'll
Rocky
second.
seconds.
Second by Rocky. And as a reminder, we will do a roll call vote, and you can say your name and your vote as I call your name. We'll start with Rocky Buznitz.
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos.
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher.
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen.
Renee, yes.
Erica Price.
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz.
Jason, I.
And Lauren is an I. That is a 7-0. Okay, we're moving on to communications. Shawnee Heights Elementary Site Council report.
Well, we are very sad that we were unable to host you all for our Grillin' and Chillin' and Board of Ed meeting at Shez tonight, but I do have Buck Reuter, our chairperson from our Shez Site Council, joining to give our report.
Excellent. Welcome, Buck.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for letting us speak quickly with you. My name is Buck Reuter. I'm the chairman of the Shawnee Heights Elementary Site Council and DAC representative. Shawnee Heights Elementary Pettit Building staff and families provide a safe, supportive environment that ensures academic excellence and develops a productive, responsible, and respectful citizen prepared for a lifetime of learning in a dynamic society. So the site council was meeting regularly, quarterly, to discuss different things until the COVID safer kind of ended our season. But throughout the year, the Shawnee Heights Elementary School Site Council, we worked in an advisory capacity to help monitor and assess the school and district programs. We worked closely with the Shawnee Heights Elementary School staff, PTO, and District Advisory Council. The projects that we had this year were school improvement plan review with the links to the Board of Education district goals. We reviewed the school achievement data on MAP and KAP assessments. We review and dialogue on the Kansas Communities That Cares data and recommendations to Shez leadership team to review the bullying reporting and investigation follow-up through procedures, including a staff development provided in February 2020. We did an introduction and review of the KSDE information on KISA accreditation system. We examined the family engagement survey results, provided Shez leadership team an idea how to increase the family engagement, including one consistent platform for classroom communications. And we examined the parent information night attendance and provided Shez leadership with team with ideas to increase the family engagement, including heard reports from District Advisory Council, PTO, the principal, and created an annual written report, which I think will be handed out if it hasn't already. So that is kind of our quick summary of what we've been up to. We are disappointed that we didn't get to have dinner tonight with you guys, but maybe next year we'll try to come even better. I hear that you guys get good meals from different people, so we'll try to one up it this year coming up next. So thank you. If you guys have any questions, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much for that update. Are there any questions? I don't see any. You're welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting, or you're also welcome to sign off. But thank you for tuning in tonight and providing that report.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we will move on to comments, concerns from patrons. Sarah, did anybody email anything regarding comments or concerns?
Yes, I did have one.
Okay.
This is from Alicia Delgado, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
And I will read it exactly the way that she wrote it. She said, I would like to express my growing concern for social media sites such as the Facebook page that has continued to be allowed to brandish the Shawnee Heights District USD 450 name and logo with the caveat of unofficial. It becomes a dumping ground for negativity and poorly thought out venting that simply puts a very negative light on our district. If people truly need the outlet, then so be it on their personal pages. I do, however, find it absolutely inappropriate to allow it when at a glance the page title looks like it is connected to the values of this district. It's embarrassing and appalling to see what is posted at times. In a time where employers often will review social media pages of potential employees, it is clear that accountability for social media matters. I brought my concerns up during my time on the District Advisory Council as well. I would really like to urge our leaders of this district to take another hard look at this to discern if options exist to regain some control over the titling of these types of sites. We are constantly told to police our children's social media and the real effects of what they post, but adults are not policing themselves. It's ridiculous, especially when those same children see it and think it's funny. Again, no one is restricting anyone's freedom of speech, but to create a page using the district name simply should not be allowed. And why a patron of this district would do that and support a forum of sensationalizing district issues, struggles, or challenges is beyond my understanding. It most certainly isn't designed to elevate or support the district as a whole, exclamation point. Thank you, Alicia Delgado.
Okay, thank you. We will work to address that issue.
That was the only one of that kind.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, moving on to action items, business by consent.
I move approval, Lauren.
Okay, I've
This is
got a
Renee.
motion by Renee. Do I have a second?
Eric, the second.
Okay, a second by Eric. Unless there are any questions or comments, we will move to a roll call vote. Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
and Lauren Tice Miller. I am an aye. That is a 7-0 vote. Okay, we'll move on to item B, approve superintendent search agreement.
This is the first step in conducting the search for a permanent full-time superintendent. You can review the process and determine the timeline at the board retreat that's already been scheduled. KASB recommends waiting to post the vacancy until November 1 if possible in order to get the maximum number of applicants and also be sensitive to districts from whom the successful candidate may be selected. So recommend approval.
So
Yes.
moved, Jason, so moved.
Okay, motion by Jason. Do we have a second?
Second, Rosa.
Second by Rosa. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the roll call vote. Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
and Lauren is an I, so that is a 7-0 vote. Moving on to item C, approve 2020-21 Kansas Children's Service League agreement.
This contract is with the Kansas Children's Service League. It is for their Center for Restorative Ed, or CRE, 8 seats, same as we've had this past year for alternative placement for students who've been suspended or expelled. High school students, cost is base state aid per pupil, which will be next to $5,100. We have used all 8 seats and recommend we continue with that amount. So without any questions, I would recommend any approval.
Is there ever a time where we need more than 8 seats?
There are times, but we've been sliding them in and out. We also have now with the 15 slots out at Forbes for students who are prior to suspension or expulsion, that we're relatively okay. I know that if I asked Mr. West if he'd take 10, he'd say he'd take 10. If he said, if I offered him 12, he'd take 12. But we also have the ability to purchase more seats if we get into a situation where we need to.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll motion. Rosa.
Got a motion
I'll
by
second.
Rosa and a second by
second.
Renee.
Yep.
Okay, there are no further questions or comments. We'll move to a roll call. Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
and Lauren Tice Miller, and I'm an I. That is a 7-0 vote. Okay, moving on to item D, approve KASB Legal Assistance Fund.
Membership in KSB allows the board to also purchase assistance or subscribe to the Legal Assistance Fund, which is basically an on-call attorney, which we use extensively throughout the school year. At the price of $2,100, it is a bargain. I recommend approval.
Okay. Do I have a
Lauren,
motion?
I move approval.
Okay, we've got a motion by Renee. Do I have a second?
I'll second. That's the second time we've done that.
We'll do a second by Erica. If there aren't any other comments or questions, we'll move to a roll call vote. Seeing none, Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
Lauren Tice Miller is an I. That is a 7-0 vote. Okay, moving on to item E, approve KASB membership.
KASB membership, the basic membership is just under $11,800. We also buy a season pass, which gives us one registration for every seminar that they offer. And it's not just board members. We send a lot of administrators to some of those as well. I know the high school sent quite a few actually this last year.
Mhm.
And that's another $1,500 and also a bargain at that price. So total with the season pass is $13,299.96. So if you have any questions, I'd answer them. Otherwise, recommend approval.
I think this membership is very much worth it. The training that they put on is very valuable for whomever attends. And I believe the membership also led to us finding them to be able to do our self-evaluation and all of that. So I find their services very beneficial for the district.
Now, this is Jason. Does this Access Pass give us just one registration for any training they put on? So if we want to send somebody else, we have to pay for it?
Typically, it gives us one for every, and it also gives us, the membership itself gives us one freebie to KSB convention, and this pass gives us one other registration as well for free. And that alone is, I think, $400 or $500. So
All right.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Jason, move approval.
Okay, I've got a motion by Jason. Was that a second, Eric?
Yes.
Okay, and a second by Eric. If there are no questions or other comments, we will move to a roll call vote. Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
Lauren Tice Miller, and I am an I. That is a 7-0 vote. Moving on to item F, approve Tecumseh South Elementary interim principal.
and I'll turn this one over to Mr. Hirsch. He conducted this search and the interviews as well.
Okay,
We'd like to recommend Jennifer Hill for the interim T-South principal position. We held interviews this week, had a committee, Rocky was on it with us, along with a couple teachers, Ms. Giebler and a couple parents all from T-South. And Jennifer Hill did a great job. We'd like to recommend her for the interim position.
Yeah, I would say that, I just to add to that, Matt, I think you had some excellent candidates and they are all outstanding in their own right. And I fully support your decision and the leadership's decision that they're all comfortable with what you've recommended.
Lauren,
yes.
I want to ask Matt, what is her current position? I don't know anything about her, so.
She's currently instructional coach at Tecumseh South.
Okay, thank you.
And Matt, can you kind of explain, now that we've named, or now that we've selected an interim principal and presumably we'll be voting on it momentarily, what then happens next?
Oh, if you select Jennifer Hill, we will open up the instructional coach position tomorrow and look for a replacement for that position. Generally, we like to do in-district people for those instructional coach positions because they are heavily dependent on knowing our curriculum instructional needs here. And so we usually hire those within if we can. And we'll just go from there.
Okay. And then I will also know, you had 4 candidates for this position, right?
We interviewed 4. We had 5. One had to withdraw because of some licensing issues.
Okay, very good. All right, do I have a, go ahead,
Matt?
Jason.
Are you
Yes.
talking about just doing a lateral into this position, or can the instructional coach come from any of the schools?
It could come from any of the schools. Yeah, we just like to make sure it's an in-district person if we can, just so they know all our programs we are using, and they're quantum familiar, and they're just familiar with all our stuff. It's a much easier transition that way.
All right.
And that position will also be a 1 year. So all these we're doing right now are 1 year shifts, and we'll make sure that person's very aware that they're moving in that position for a year only, and then they'll shift back to whatever their original spot if they are an in-district person.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Jason moves approval.
Okay, got a motion to approve from Jason. Do I have a second?
Eric, I second.
Okay, I have a second from Eric. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll move to roll call vote. Seeing none, we'll move. Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
and Lauren Tice Miller is an I. So that is a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Matt, and also Rocky, for taking the time to conduct the interviews and select this position. So thank you very much.
Thanks for your support. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item G, approve pay application to Schneider Electric.
Yeah, Schneider Electric has submitted a pay application for, and I'm trying to find this number, $781,476.10. This is primarily for two or three semi-loads full of equipment that they've got on site. They've already started work, and this would be for supplies to date, and we recommend approval.
What have they started on, Marty?
We start on the high school. They have been there over a week now, and very pleased with the pace of work which they're going through. I believe I was there, they've been there 4 days, and I'd asked Mr. Hofstra, and they'd done 500 lights in the 4 days they've been there already, fixtures. So they're moving relatively rapidly. They've also got a crew at Tecumseh North that's handling the building envelope, which is the sweeps and the caulking and the insulation that they're doing to secure the building envelope, make it more weatherproof as well. So we're very pleased. I would expect that they'll be through the high school here, hopefully by the end of May, and then move on to the other buildings.
Good, thank you.
Well, I suppose we need to pay our bills, so Jason moves approval.
Okay, got a motion by Jason. Do I have a second?
Second by Renee.
Second by Renee. There are no further questions or comments. We'll move to a roll call vote. Okay, Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
and Lauren Tice Miller is an aye for a 7-0 vote. All right, we'll move on to discussion items, continuous learning plan survey results.
We had one addition there, Lauren, an H
Oh,
added late. Mr. West submitted a summer school proposal for 6H.
okay, I apologize. The agenda I had downloaded was not up to date. So we will do agenda item H, which is approved 2020 summer school proposal.
Mr. West has requested summer school as described. He's got 3 teachers and 2 counselors for 84 hours total salary of $23,110. We will pay this out of the federal CARES money, which was awarded to us or will be awarded for expenses related to school closure for COVID-19. Our cut of that, I was going to share with you later, will be about $750,000. So, or I'm sorry, I'm way off on that. $275,000. So this will come out of that 275 that we'll get for CARES Act money.
Ed, do you anticipate there being an increase in enrollment for the summer program, given the changes with the continuous learning and students potentially getting behind?
Yes, normally our summer school the last 4 years consists of 3 teachers. We increased that by a couple.
Okay.
I say 3 teachers. That included Lori Crimmins, who's been part of the normal 3. The extra 2 that we brought on are also the counselors. So we'll have all 3 counselors plus 2 of our traditional summer school teachers. Our seniors right now are in pretty decent shape. We work really, really hard on them. And typically they enter the spring semester in decent shape. Over a normal summer, we probably get 6 to 8 seniors through. The group that probably we're most concerned about right now are our current juniors.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if this semester doesn't go well, if this quarter doesn't go well for them, there's just not a whole lot of time to catch them up, especially with some uncertainty about next year. Yeah, we'll have a larger than normal group.
Okay.
Normal is usually around 80. I'd anticipate at least inviting probably twice that.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
I got just one question. If you got
Oh.
just if they're not, are you anticipating or planning on doing this in person, Mr. West, or are you going to plan on doing it remotely, or you making plans for both?
I'm probably a combination. I think maybe is realistic. I'm guessing maybe we can have some small groups at that point in time, maybe that 10, less than 10, or, you know, whatever would happen by the end of May on into June. If so, we can certainly divide those 5 people up into 5 classrooms, 10 each, or whatever the number would allow. There may be some students with transportation or other issues, or just need more time. They're making sufficient progress, could work from home. Normally we bring everybody in, so we'll just have to see what the numbers represent. It also could be one of those situations where we can kind of rotate them. We can bring certain groups in on certain days of the week, and throughout the week we get everybody in a couple of times. So we'll just kind of have to see what the numbers are, what the protocol is in terms of the directions we're given on how we can operate, and then just what the needs of each student are.
Thank you.
Lauren,
Yes.
I move approval.
Okay, we've got a motion from Renee. Do we have a second?
Rosa seconds.
Rosa seconds. If there are no further questions or comments, we'll move to a roll call vote. Seeing none, Rocky Buznitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
Lauren Tice Miller is an aye for a 7-0 vote. Okay, now we'll move along to discussion items, continuous learning plan survey.
Okay, I'm gonna attempt to share my screen and hopefully this will work out.
Angels and ministers of grace defend us.
And are we able to see that?
Yes.
We administered the survey last week, harvested it on Friday, and I want to thank Tiffany for her work putting together this presentation. It's in a PDF form and is on the website. We'll start with the parent, then move to the student surveys. We had 1,299 total parent responses. And if you look, we had a nice cross-section of each building, almost a representative sample as well, and a nice cross-section of grade levels as well. So I feel very good that it is a nice representative sample and will lend us to valid results. On the level of satisfaction, we asked a number of questions. Were they satisfied, very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, or not at all satisfied? You can see with internet access, 72% were very satisfied, 23% somewhat, and only about 4% not at all. With device access, we saw similar results with 78 and 18, almost 19% satisfied. Communication from teachers were 73% very and 23% somewhat satisfied. From the building or district, it was 73 and 24. Amounts of schoolwork, 55% very and 35% somewhat. Only 9%, just under 9% were not satisfied. And with the quality of schoolwork, it was 61% very and 33% somewhat, and only 5.2 not at all satisfied. The other question we had a concern about were the hours spent each day on schoolwork, with the goal being 3 or less. Almost 23% were 1 hour, 28% roughly were 2 hours, and 22.3% were 3 hours. So really 75% or so were at that 3 or less, and another 9% were at 4. So I think we're really relatively in the ballpark with where we want to be with the number of hours students are spending on schoolwork. We asked parents how many new platforms or apps or websites they needed to learn for their student. 29.8, roughly 30, only 1. 31% 2, and 20% were 3 new apps or platforms. We asked how much support is available for your student during the school day. This was on a 10-point scale with no descriptors for each one other than 1 and 10, which is there was no one available, and there was someone available for questions when my students have a question. So 41% were marked 10, 15% 9, 18% were 8, and another 7% were 7 or above. So a vast majority of our folks were in that 7 or above, and with a great deal of them, 18 and 15 is 33, and 41 is almost 75% being 8 or above there. So I feel pretty good about those numbers. We asked, how does the person supervising your child feel about assisting your child with work during school hours on a 5-point Likert scale, with 1 being not confident and 5 very confident? We saw almost 38% as very confident, another 31% as confident, and 18% in that middle number 3, which would be a neutral response as well. So only 13% or less were in that not confident and not confident at all range. How does the person supervising your child feel about assisting with technology? And roughly almost the same numbers. You'll see 40% and 32% were 4s and 5s, 16%. So really we're sitting at about 11% with not confident with the technology. For those who collect packets, how easy is it to collect packets? Almost 92% do not use a packet. Of those who do, only out of the remaining 8%, 7.5 said easy to pick up, and less than 1% said it was difficult to pick up. Preferred method of communication, out of 1,291 responses, 92% selected email, and you could pick more than one. Almost 49% or 48% selected text message, 12% social media, and only 6% preferred the website. Are there any resources we can help put you in touch with? So remember, out of that 1,299 responses or so, 116 did respond to this. And of those who did respond, 32 selected mental health services, and 11 selected childcare services. Questions, comments, concerns about the student or the parent data?
The parents who may be more in the minority of this data, the ones who may be struggling, what kind of resources are we providing for them, or how are you responding to their needs?
Well, the first level of the first caregiver we have for them and for their children is the teacher. So if their student is spending more than 4 hours a day on homework, they need to start with that teacher to look for adjustments or additional supports. And I would tell you that 99% of the time, the teacher adjusts assignments or is able to accommodate that student. Teachers know that student best. So I've not been contacted by any. I know our principals have, and it always starts with the teacher. If they're not satisfied with the teacher, then they can certainly take that up with the principal or a counselor.
Thank you.
I can speak on a firsthand. We had a teacher that went above and beyond, and I know a student that was struggling with something on the resources electronically. So I know a teacher went and safely delivered a packet of physical material, put it on the porch for the student, and then and I know the parents are extremely appreciative of that. So I know the students are, the parents are just so appreciative of the teachers and the extra effort that they're going to show the care and that they actually care and want the students to succeed and do well in these different.
On the student data, we had 1,367 responses, and again, a nice representation of responses from all 6 buildings and a nice representation of responses from all grade levels. We started with how are you feeling this week? And 48% are great. Things are going well for me. Another 47% where I'm okay. Some days I feel down. 335 where I'm nervous or anxious about my schoolwork. I'm nervous or anxious about my home, or another 4%. I'm lonely, 15%. And I'm really struggling overall and need help, we're 4%. How has school gone for you this week? Again, that 5-point Likert scale, 1 being horrible, 5 being great. 20% were great. 34% marked it a 4. About 30% were a 3. So a nice majority of our folks, about 85%, were a 3, 4, or 5. We do have about 16% that are 17% that are a 1 or a 2. What has been the best part of your week? Out of 1,315 responses, reconnecting with my classmates, having talked with at least one of my friends. I've had the amount of help I need to complete schoolwork. Schoolwork has not caused stress. I'm happy to be back at school, and I've enjoyed the assignments from my teachers, were the top responses. Biggest struggles are developing a daily routine, organizing information. That's not generally surprising. I'm not motivated to do work on my own. I've not had many struggles, 26.5% marked that. And the activities I'm being asked to do are too difficult for me, 10%. And those were the top responses out of 1,341. How much time are you spending on schoolwork? And this is almost identical to the parent responses, with less than 1 hour at 12%, 1 to 2 at 39%, 2 to 3 at almost 24%, and more than 3 hours were 24.5%. So about a quarter of our kids are more than 3 hours. How do you prefer to get help from your teacher? Number 1 was email, and number 2 was Zoom office hours. How easy is it to get a hold of your teacher when you have a question? We're on that same 5-point Likert scale. And again, the vast majority were a 3, 4, or a 5, with about 8% a 1 or a 2. What support do you have from adults during the day? 62% have a caregiver or parent who can help whenever needed. Another 16% have a parent at home, but they're working and can't really help me. 13% there's an adult at home, but they can't really answer my questions or help me. And then the remaining 2 where there's not an adult at home, or it's hard for me to do work because I am in charge of my siblings. Do you share a device with other siblings? 75% do not. 15% share sometimes, and 9.5%, almost 10%, do share a device with siblings. And again, that was our last question there. Any questions on the student data?
Did the students provide their names in the survey?
Tiffany tells me yes, they did. So we will get the results that are specific to each building to the building principal so that they can see their unique results. In addition, because of the concerns that were expressed that would lead to mental health concerns, all of our counselors are reaching out to kids, and will pass along any kids that relayed information that would cause alarm to our counselors. In addition, flyers will go from Family Service and Guidance Center. We'll send flyers in our lunch sacks this week, and Family Service and Guidance is doing outreach programs for families and for parents, as well as for students. So those will go out in this week's lunches as well.
Great, that was going to be my next question. Thank you. Are there any other questions about that? We'll move on to superintendent's report.
Okay, trying to figure out how to do 2 things at once here. Schneider Electric, as I've said, has already started working in high school. Very pleased with the progress they're making, and they're working on the building envelope at Tecumseh North. Also regarding North, if you remember in the capital outlay, we had approved a chunk of North's roof to be repaired. That roof is in the same location. They'll be replacing the rooftop unit. Recommended we not do that at the same time. because of the potential difficulties in coordinating those two projects. There's another roof, a little bit smaller portion of roof at Tecumseh North that was also in need of repair. It was next on our list. And so we elected to do that one as well, or instead of the larger portion. It would have been our next up in the rotation of roofs to replace. It is a smaller piece of roof, so it'll fall well under the allotted portion of capital outlay. That's out to bid, and we'll do a bid opening on April 30th for that, and hope to bring it to the board in the first board meeting in May. We met with Shawnee County health officials last week, and I will tell you that we ran our August 2nd graduation date past them, and they said we will know more in 2 to 4 weeks. But at this point in time, they felt like a large gathering of thousands of people, many of whom have traveled from out of state, was, and I'll use his words exactly, quote, highly unlikely, quote. So we'll know more in 2 to 4 weeks, and we'll also ask more questions about what we could do in an in-person graduation if we had only invited a select group of people in a larger space. So in that conversation, we asked about the likelihood of driver ed. We were told that would be likely if the class was held online and if we limited the number of folks in the cars. So thanks to Mr. Winnell, who's putting together a plan to do just that, so that the classroom portion can be done primarily online, and that will limit the number of folks in cars, but start driving earlier and start the classroom portion earlier so that we can get everybody taken care of, with the assumption that that will be allowed when the time comes. Again, we'll know more in 2 to 4 weeks. I said, as I alluded to earlier, the CARES Act that was passed by the federal government, our share of that will be about $275,000. We can use that for expenses related to COVID-19 closures. Our number one expense would be food service, not necessarily for food, but we're not bringing money in. We make a lot of money off a la carte and then that are paid lunches. So it'd be primarily for salaries for food service folks, because the federal reimbursement won't touch that, or won't cover that. We'll put it that way. The other will be for summer school, as we've said, for Mr. West. I've also asked the elementary principals to start thinking about what they may want to do with that money in terms of summer remediation as well. And we have until September of 2021 to spend it. It is quite likely, depending upon what next year looks like, that it might be best to wait until the summer of 2021 to do this, because we'll know more exactly what the deficits are and who has deficits that would need to be, and that gives us more time to plan. So I would recommend to them that as we think that through, we think with an idea of looking out over the horizon a little bit, trying to plan for what we don't know will come. We'll also get a little bit of additional categorical aid for SPED, and I know that makes Dr. O'Brien very happy. Just an FYI, the orchestra trip to New York obviously was canceled, and Mrs. Barnhill's been doing a wonderful job of arm wrestling with those folks, trying to get that money back. And we've looked at some of those agreements. They typically favor the organization that's sponsoring it, but we will use our most persuasive powers on those folks to try to get a majority of that revenue back in the hands of our parents. And just for what it's worth, trivia, in case it comes up in trivia somewhere, on average, the last 3 years, our bus fleet has averaged 474,000 miles. And this year, when we shut it off, they were at 334,000 miles. So I haven't told Dwayne this. I assume that means we can put off purchasing of buses, a whole year. He'll probably not agree with me on that. But it will save us on some fuel, which we'll need to supplement other areas. So,
speaking of buses, you had mentioned, I think it was at our last meeting, that we had been approved or selected for the electric buses. What's the status of that now, given all of the circumstances?
I've not heard there's any change in that. I assume it will still come, because that was not revenue dependent from KSDE. So I assume those will still come. And it'll depend a great deal on when Evergy can get out to install charging stations. So my assumption is that we'd be on schedule for next fall. May not be with the start of school though.
I also wanted to ask with the update on from the Shawnee County Public Health Department, what is the impact of that? I know I just saw an email that we will try to hold a prom on July 25th. How does the opinion of the Shawnee County Health Department weigh in on that?
Well, obviously, I haven't talked to Mr. West about the prom directly, but they overrule us.
Sure.
And we would do that only if allowed, but it's good to have a date and it's good to have a plan made. And if we have to shift that plan, then we have to shift the plan. It would be nice if we can go through with the plans that have already been made.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we can. All right, move on to questions, comments from board members.
I do want to say, oh, Rosa, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. You go first.
You mentioned Miss Barnhill and the orchestra and their trip got canceled. The band's trip to Orlando also got canceled for this coming December. And I just wanted to thank the band boosters for going through the same painstaking issues of getting all that money refunded to all the parents. So I just wanted to thank the band boosters for doing that.
The band's trip in December is canceled? Wow.
Marty, I wanted to also ask you, I sent an email about this, I think last week, but I wanted to circle back to it about the retiree recognition. Has there been any discussion about how we can recognize our retirees this year?
Yeah, and I'd like the board's input on that as well.
Okay.
I hope they're not all watching.
Yeah.
If we can get smaller groups together, it would be nice if we could get a small group and at least walk them in front of the board and hand them their plate, their bell, and shake their hands or bump elbows, whatever the new norm that is allowed. And we'll know that here in early May. We typically do this I believe second meeting or first meeting in May.
Mm-hmm.
If the stay-at-home order is not lifted or if the regulations don't allow us to do something, because then we could do it in June. It's not going to be a great, a great many folks assemble for it. So we were kind of waiting to see if we could do it in a limited fashion where the board could at least thank them in person, which is always appropriate and appreciated. Otherwise, we'll do some sort of virtual thing.
Okay.
Like we did with the Teacher of the Year award, maybe hand deliver or have one hand deliver the plates, the bells, and etc. I got to get a handle on how many we're talking about right now, and it could be more yet.
Okay, just want to make sure that they get the recognition they deserve.
Lauren?
Yes, Renee.
I just want to say kudos to everyone for your continued professionalism and work to try to make the best education and the mental health goals for the students come to fruition. I just really appreciate all of your efforts and professionalism.
Lauren, I have a few questions from parents that have reached out. One is in regards to some of our special needs students, if they are receiving any additional help or if there is additional help available to them, or if that's something that is being communicated by the teacher.
I'll let Dr. O'Brien chime in here, but I would tell you, we cannot provide the level of support that we do when they're here in person. That just simply is not possible, and we can't do home visits with them. So they're not going to see the level of attention that they do when they're in school. But I know that all of our teachers are working with all of their students in terms of their caseload in the best way they can. Dr. O'Brien, you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to say it depends on the student's needs. So some of the students will just get what their classroom teachers providing plus some accommodations, or we have teachers that post supplementary activities and assignments on the same Seesaw page, but you can't tell it's separate or different assignments. Or some of our teachers are doing direct instruction with their kiddos through Zoom. So yeah, they're doing a lot of different creative type of things. We've got creative people.
Yeah, and Dr. O'Brien, I know that I know you guys have paras too that are working and doing separate Zoom sessions with students that maybe are working at a different pace and need some supplemental help.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. They're doing a great job too, and are able to sit in with teachers when they need them to, or take separate groups. Anyway, so they are getting services to the extent that we can provide them at this point. And parents were aware that we wouldn't be able to provide them to the extent we normally do, but it just looks different for every student. So
okay, that's great to know. What else? Is there additional support for teachers that are not as tech savvy as some of the others that's being able to be provided? Like, are teachers supporting each other in that sense? Or is there some other or additional support that they're getting to do all of these Zoom and technology type of classes online?
A lot of them turn to their peers for help.
Okay.
And the support that's available is the same support that's always available, and that is their instructional coach who can help them with the technology, and also I know our principals have done a great deal as well.
The next thing for me, I was just curious, how much time are teachers spending online? Is their typical day starting at 7 and ending at 7, or are they coming in, at 8 and ending at 3 like a typical day? Is there a survey that we can get to teachers to find out what additional support they may need and what their day looks like, so we can understand how we can help or support them as well?
We have a teacher survey much like the staff and student one. We've not administered that yet. That's next up to do. And we'll probably get that out next week. I know, I think it varies from teacher to teacher, level to level, and classroom to classroom, who's doing what and how long they're on. And I know they're working with their principals as well. They're working hard.
I know. Some of the teachers I have heard from have said that they start at 6:30, 7 in the morning, and they're staying online pretty much all day until 7 in the evening or 8 in the evening to get all of their lesson plans and their videos up for their kids. And I just don't want to stress them out too much when they're doing as much as they possibly can. And I know that this is a difficult time for them. And so I just felt really bad when I was hearing that from some of the teachers and didn't know what support there was for them, and asked how we could help them out. And so that was why I had to ask.
I know Mr. Hurst has sent out information on the employee assistance plan. I know our principals are very conscientious about what our teachers are doing and looking at to see who might be in need. But I would tell you that's the nature of our teachers. It's 5 o'clock on a Friday and they're ready to sign off, and they get a text from somebody they haven't heard from this week, and they don't sign off. They stay on until 8 o'clock on a Friday night because they haven't heard from that teacher, that kid, and they've got 3 hours and they can give it, and they give freely and without question.
Well, kudos to them. My last thing that I had from middle school parents was their concern for some of the electives. They felt that their students have been spending a lot of time online and doing some middle school homework that's for their elective classes. And they were wondering if some of those elected classes are going to be weighted in some sort of way, or if there was an extended time period to get that turned in, or how else can they handle some of those elective classes. I suggested that they, reach out to Mr. Burek, but I didn't know if there was anything that you could report to us on any of those electives in the middle school.
I would tell them to start with the core with their team.
Okay.
Their kids' team teachers, and they can adjust assignments and maybe even reduce or eliminate some of those electives. The key is those 4 core.
Okay.
Make sure they're doing the work and keeping up with the work in those. Now, if you're one of those kids that's spending 1 hour a day, then do the electives as well. If you're spending 4 hours a day, barely getting your core done, then I wouldn't worry about the electives.
Okay. Perfect. Thank
But you can let the team teachers tell them that, not me.
Got it.
I would almost suggest that depending on the elective, it may be a welcome break from the core classes to turn around and spend some time working on an elective. So it's kind of like all work and no play,
Very good point.
That's all I had, Lauren.
Okay. Thanks, Rosa. Those were good questions. Any other comments, questions?
Oh, wait, Tiffany, are we still able to do something, post a thank you to our volunteers?
Oh, yeah.
We can post. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
I wanted to, oh, go ahead, Jason.
It's like, yes, this is National Volunteer Week, isn't it?
Yes.
That would explain why 4-H is popping up with it all over the place. Okay. Sorry, I just put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, and we are certainly thankful for all of our volunteers, even during this very uncertain time. I know that there are a number of people who are still volunteering their time for the district and going above and beyond. So we are certainly thankful for them.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I did want to give a quick task force update. We've all kind of probably forgotten a little bit about that. We were scheduled to meet that Tuesday, March 17th, when kind of all of this came down. And so that meeting was canceled. But in the meantime, I have worked on putting together a progress report, and it has been reviewed now by Eric and Stacy and Marty. And so what I will do is I will send it out to the board for review of it. It includes the recommendations we as the task force were able to come to consensus on, which I think there are a lot of good recommendations. I think this overall, this task force was very productive and I would deem it successful. In fact, I'd really like to see it meet at least one more time if possible, or at least do another survey with them, because these individuals really gave thoughtful additions to the discussion. So you'll see in the report that I tried to be very thorough in it and capturing kind of the whole background of it, what the makeup of it was, kind of as a reminder, because it was clear back in December that we approved it and then started meetings. So I know a lot has happened since then. So even I had to go back and kind of refresh my memory on everything. And then it kind of concludes with what our next steps or our next focus should be in moving forward. So I will get that sent to you guys, and then we'll go from there. If there are no further questions or comments, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jason. Do I have a second?
Second by Rocky.
And a second by Rocky, and we will go to a roll call vote of Rocky Busenitz.
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, I.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price,
Erica, yes.
Jason Schultz,
Jason, I.
and Lauren Tice Miller is an aye. So that's a 7-0 vote to adjourn. And Sarah, do we have documents we need to come sign at central office?
Yes, you will have those after every meeting.
Okay.
Rosa, do you have documents to sign? I'm sort of joking along with you because I was
made it.
last.
She made it.
I was like, yep, there they are for me.
All right.
I wasn't the absolute last person.
That was me, Rocky. Thank you so much.
Hey, if we can't shake
All right.
hands, we can always do this, right?
Yeah, there we go. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.